welcome to another episode of Friends Talking Nerdy. This is Tim Jasma.
And I am Kim the Geek on Twitter.
Not on Instagram.
No, I'm not.
Not on Tumblr.
No, I have an Instagram, but I don't honestly remember what it is.
Not on FetLife.
No. No. FetLife is... no. That's not my thing.
Alright, how's your week been going?
It's been going. Haven't been doing much. I've been staying home mostly because coronavirus. Yeah, that's the big thing in the news right now. Coronavirus. Everybody's stressed and worried they're going to get it. But honestly, most of you are not going to get it, or you're going to have it so mild you just think it's a passing sniffle. See, coronavirus is like if it's like the flu on steroids, basically. It has all the same symptoms as a basic cold or flu, but it can develop rapidly into a really terrible upper respiratory infection. And that's mostly in people who are older, who have chronic health conditions, like asthma, like me, or who are just young, who are immunocompromised. Most average people who are relatively healthy will be fine. So people, please, do not panic. Do not panic.
You mean it's not appropriate to rush to the store and, buy it out like there's a hurricane coming or something like that?
Yeah. Generally, you should have things like soap at your house already. Because it's been hand soap that's been flying off the shelves, hand sanitizer, rubbing alcohol, toilet paper. Okay. I mean, if you're expecting that you're going to have to be stuck at home and quarantined, then I guess it makes sense. But at the same time, shouldn't people have soap already at home?
Well, that reminds me of Andy Kaufman when he was facing off against Jerry Lawler. When he would go on Memphis Wrestling Television, he he gave etiquette lessons to Southern people. Mm-hmm. And, one thing he did, he goes, "This, folks, is a bar of soap. Not soap. It's soap. You are washing your hands." And he would just go through.
Yeah, basically, people need to calm down. The main things you need to do to fight coronavirus are wash your hands on a regular basis, stay hydrated, just take care of yourself, and don't panic.
And be heavily armed.
No, coronavirus is not susceptible to guns.
But this is America. It's supposed to be.
No, it doesn't work that way. And when you wash your hands, make sure you're washing them for long enough. Basically, the way to remember how long to wash your hands is to sing the Happy Birthday song twice. Yeah,
I mean, I was, by coincidence, I didn't know this was going to be one of your topics, but I did watch the good thing about Last Week Tonight, even though it's on HBO, they take their important topics and have that entire topic as a video on YouTube.
That's cool.
And the video that they had last week, I believe, was talking about coronavirus. And what they said was, at minimum, you want to wash your hands for 20 seconds, preferably longer. Hot water, soap gets rid of it.
Yeah, you don't even need antibacterial soap because it's a virus. So just regular soap. And anyway, you probably shouldn't be using antibacterial soap anyway because it tends to lead to superbugs.
Yeah.
So just regular old soap and hot water, and sing the Happy Birthday song to yourself twice.
Pretend you're Marilyn Monroe. Happy birthday.
Well, then if you sing it slow like that, you only have to sing it once.
Like that?
Yeah. If you do it that way, you only have to do it once. But just chill out. And actually, I went to the store last night. I went to Winco, and they're limiting people to how much toilet paper and other stuff they can buy, so that you can't hoard it, basically. And I'm just like, well, that's cool. And I bought some toilet paper because we actually needed toilet paper. So
I'm sure the audience needed to know.
Well, I was just surprised it wasn't out because I was like, I should probably buy some just because we needed to stock up, and I haven't had a chance to go to Costco, and
I know
Costco is scary this right now. So I
know I shouldn't say anything anyway because I've talked about my Star Wars underwear on the show, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, we're stocked up on toilet paper, and we have soap. So I think
not soap. No.
Soap.
Okay.
So I think we're good to fight coronavirus. Just
All right.
we just got to try and stay well.
Yeah,
and more than likely, I'll probably get it.
And then pass it on to me, and then I'll pass it on to plenty of other people.
Yeah, well, hopefully it'll be nice and mild, and it won't even feel like coronavirus.
Oh, there was a movie with John Goodman and I believe Denzel Washington in the late 90s. It was after The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves, but there was a demon possession movie. And when you said that, it just reminded me of like this chase scene, but like the demon, it was like one demon chasing after the main character, but how they passed was by human touch. And so as the Denzel character was like running down the street, you saw people just continually touching each other, and the demon was passing through person, chasing after him that way. It was pretty cool.
So is that like, okay, so I'm going to be like Denzel Washington running, and the coronavirus is going to be chasing me?
Pretty much. Stop, no! But you'll be Denzel, right?
Sure. Denzel's pretty cool, so
there you go.
Why not?
All right. Well, this week I caught up on an interview. I've heard some things about. There's a reporter who named Chris Van Fleet who works as a reporter for the professional wrestling industry. But he was able to get an interview with a gentleman by the name of Daniel Benoit. And you're like, who the hell is that?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. He is the son of professional wrestler Chris Benoit. And I'm sure you're like, who the hell is that?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Chris was, when he was alive, was one of the greatest in-ring professional wrestlers of all time. As a character, he had his moments where he was good and not so good, just because in terms of his personality, it wasn't like a Hulk Hogan type of personality. And by that, I mean, I remember seeing Hogan for the first time in person in May of 2000, and when he walked from the backstage, everybody turned because it was Hulk Hogan, and Chris did not necessarily have that type of charisma, but most people, sadly, today know Chris Benoit for what happened on the last 3 days of his life. On June 22nd, police estimated that he murdered his wife.
What year?
2007. And the day after that, they believe that he killed his son. And his son was 8 years old. And the day after that, they believe, at that point, they know, of course, that he hung himself.
Jeez.
Which,
that's pretty terrible.
Not pretty terrible. It is terrible. It was horrific. It was tragic. And being a professional wrestling fan, the fact that industry, they make their money on you getting an emotional attachment to these characters. So when something like this occurs, it's almost as if a family member was affected. I mean, I remember working at Best Buy at the time, and fellow wrestling fans were all in a state of shock. Just like kicked in the gut type of shock. I mean, I remember I was a sales operator at the time, and I was able to be in the back for a bit at the Geek Squad on their computers, away out of customers' eyes, which I love that part. But was on the computer instead of the good thing about that position is that you could really check what you want on the computer. So I went to CNN and was constantly updating and seeing if I can get any updates. There was a pay-per-view that weekend, the Sunday, the day that he killed his son. There was a pay-per-view that he was supposed to be on. He was going to win the ECW championship on that day. The next day, the WWE, without... And this is weird because they had a tribute show. In terms of news to the general public, it had not come out yet, the extent of what happened. They just knew that him and his family was dead. But what I noticed right away that really was striking was the fact that the tribute show that they had for him that night was in an empty arena. Now, why is that weird, you ask? Because they've had... I think of like Eddie Guerrero, who passed away of a heart attack. They had a tribute show. Owen Hart, who fell 60 feet to his death in the ring on pay-per-view. They had a tribute show with an audience. Yet this show, they did not have an audience. And it was about halfway through that show that WWE.com announced, and I'm sure it was on other news sources, the full extent of what happened. And it was just a shock. And just listening to this interview with Daniel, if anything, I felt horrible for him.
So who is Daniel?
Daniel is now he's, I believe, 26. So this happened in 2007, so 16.
But who is he in relation to Chris Benoit?
That's his son.
Oh, okay.
That's his son, yeah. So
I thought he killed his son. He had more than one.
He had more than one child.
Okay.
Yeah, he had the son that he killed was his mother was Nancy Benoit. I forgot her maiden name, but she in the past was married to former wrestler and former WCW booker Kevin Sullivan. Daniel's mother was a different woman altogether. Okay. So
he wasn't at home at the time.
No, obviously. He was in Canada.
Okay.
And just going through the interview, and I definitely, if you're a wrestling fan or not, I definitely recommend checking it out. But he talked about just hearing the news and like what again, if he's 26 now, 16.
If he's 26
he was 13.
Now,
he was approximately 13 when this happened. Imagine being any age, but still being 13. And
you're old enough to know what's going on, but you're not old enough to really know how to handle it.
That on top of the fact that everybody in the world knows who your father is.
Ugh.
And that's
just awful.
It's awful. The thing about the interview too is that Daniel talks about his desire to become a wrestler himself.
Oh.
Which on the one hand, good for him, because he is not his father. Just because, in the interview makes it very clear that he still very much loves his father. He's not excusing what his father did, of course, like that. I mean, he knows. Yeah, I mean, he's not an apologist, but he has a mission to try and essentially take over the family name.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of wrestling fans, I see what they can do on Twitter for some of the most stupid reasons in some of the things they will say. Like, I think of the Paige, the subject of the movie that we saw, Fighting With My Family. She's had some personal issues that, if she were not a celebrity, nobody would know anything about or talk to her about. But being a celebrity, everything's out. I mean, she had a sex tape released. She had a tumultuous relationship with a former wrestler who's abusive and whatnot. But I mean, she gets a lot of shit, and just thinking about him, I hope he's able to pull it off. But I think the moment he hits the ring, people are going to be assholes.
Probably.
I mean, he's already talked about in the interview that, he gets lots of comments from anonymous people on Twitter talking about his father. So what's going to happen if he tries to step in the ring?
Anything could happen. I guess anything could happen.
Yeah.
Did they ever determine why it was that his dad killed his family?
Yeah, they did do a toxicology report. While he did have elevated levels of testosterone in his system, indicating that he was on some treatment for previous steroid abuse, they did rule that he was not. He did not suffer roid rage when the murders happened. From there, I forgot the name of the organization, but there's a former professional wrestler who heads that organization that has been pioneers in terms of studying brains for CTE.
I was gonna say, was it some kind of traumatic
CTE. They were able to get his brain and do a deep dive on that, and found out that he had the brain of an 80-year-old Alzheimer's patient.
Yep, that'll do it. Basically dementia. Dementia
and severe depression too, because 2 years previous, as I mentioned earlier, Eddie Guerrero, the professional wrestler, died of a heart attack. He was in his mid-40s, but his heart was enlarged due to steroids and whatnot. And, since Benoit's death, the extent of Benoit's friendship with Eddie Guerrero has come to light. And when Eddie passed away, apparently it hit Chris really, really hard. And
oh, geez.
since then, they've released, I guess Chris would write journals, like diary entries to Eddie Guerrero.
Well, yeah, you grief with depression, with essentially dementia. And then I'm assuming he wasn't getting any treatment for any of those conditions. Because there are medications that can help with a lot of that.
I mean, that's the one. If there's any positive to be taken from this horrible tragedy, it's the fact that after that, the WWE stopped messing around when it came to, stuff like head injuries and whatnot. From that point, you never saw any sort of headshots chair. Because in the past, like I remember this scene where it was Ken Shamrock versus The Rock. Ken Shamrock is on his knees yelling at The Rock to hit him. The Rock has a chair, and then he just straight up hit him in the head with a chair. And while now, admittedly, for a company like WWE and now AEW, they do have what they call a magic department. So the chair was not necessarily the type of metal folding chair you would find at a bingo hall or something like that. So it did have some give, but you get hit with a chair, it's still going to hurt no matter what.
Yeah, no matter how much give, it's gonna sting a little.
Just a little bit, yeah. But now they do have pretty extensive concussion protocols.
That's good.
And if there's the hint that somebody is having that, they pull them off the road no matter what.
Yeah. Plus, there's depending on the place where you get hit can affect different things. I mean, certain parts of the brain have to do with personality changes. Certain parts have to do with speech and movement and things like that. And so, you get hit in a certain spot and it basically takes out your emotional center. That can...
Well, I know generally they do try to, like, when soccer balls, like, headbutt a soccer that comes, they do try to get, like, the very center of the forehead.
Yeah, because that's where the skull's thickest is right in that spot. And doing a header with a soccer ball, it doesn't really hurt. It stings a little bit.
Yeah.
But
and also too, that's the same area where wrestlers this is a secret that some may not know, but when you see a wrestler bleed from the forehead, sometimes it's naturally done. Most of the time they have a little razor blade that they hide in, like the they tape up their wrist and whatnot. They have it hidden in there, and then you do a quick slice.
Plus lacerations on the scalp bleed a lot more, and it just because the skin is really thin there.
Yep.
And it's really easy to break the skin. If anybody's like picked a pimple on your forehead, you know this, they'll just bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed, and yeah.
Anyway, like I said, it is a powerful interview. If anything, I really hope Daniel is able to find some happiness in his life. He's 26. From what it sounds like, he does not have the best of training as of yet. I think he's taken some training, but is not done as much as, to be like a WWE level professional, he should have a lot more training than he currently has at his age.
Well, the fact that he had such a tragedy occur at an age that's really part of the formative years of, like, trying to figure out where you might want to go in life and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Has he, like, gone to college or anything like that? Done any
I can't speak
travel?
To that. I don't know. I don't even know if... I know he talked about having, like, some personal mementos from his father, but I know with his ex-wife, I believe his ex-wife's family sued the Chris Benoit estate for, I believe, in civil court or something like that. Rightfully so. So I don't know how much money Daniel has access to. I'm sure he probably has more than both of us.
Probably.
But still, I also don't think it's something that doesn't have to worry about not having a job for the rest of his life either.
Yeah. I was just thinking, if you have, like, that kind of money from an estate, I would probably, if I was in his shoes, I would use it for education to further my career, sort of thing.
At the end of the day, what I hope professional wrestling fans do is give this guy a break. If he's able to get in the ring and it helps him heal, by all means support him, because what his father did is not his fault. He should not have to pay for what his father did.
There's the quote for the Bible. I don't know, like sins the sins of the father, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But yeah, it's like you're your own person. You are not your parents' mistakes.
Yeah. So, again, I'll have this, the link in the show description, but it's a Chris Van Fleet interview with David Benoit.
All right.
Now, I hear you're excited about RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh, yes. Season 12. Can you believe it? Season 12 started up just this past Friday.
Now, is that like the 47th season of Survivor, even though the show's not been on for 47 years?
No, the show actually has been on for 12 years. And this is season 12 of just regular RuPaul's Drag Race. This isn't RuPaul's Drag Race UK, RuPaul's Drag Race Thailand, or RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars. So this is the regular, this is the original, the OG RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the theme of today's show.
So season 12 kicked off on Friday. It's on VH1, or I don't think it's available on any streaming services unless you actually have cable and you have VH1.
I'm surprised because I know when the original Cosmos, and I know the new season of Cosmos is coming out soon, but when the original Cosmos came out, the next day it was available. The episode was available for sale on Amazon Prime.
Well, that's what I was about to say. You interrupted me. I'm saying it's not available on any regular streaming service, but if you want to pay for the season, it's on Amazon, Apple, all of the pay for.
And that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's how I watch it because I don't have VH1. We don't have VH1, so I bought the season on Amazon, so I'll get all the episodes like when I get off work on Fridays.
Is there like a special notification audio? Like, hey girl, it's the new episode.
No, they send you an email, but it's pretty much a generic email. Hey, you have a new episode to watch, blah, blah, blah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool if if I got like a text message and it said, hey girl, like, or something like that. So anyhow, they've started season 12. So what they do some seasons, not all seasons, some seasons, they'll split the premiere into 2 episodes so that it gives you a chance to get to know the new drag queens better. Because these are drag queens that most fans may not have heard of unless they live in these areas and they go to local shows. So the season starts off with the first 7 girls. Britta, who is from New York City. Nikki Doll, who is originally from Paris and who now lives in New York City. Widow Von Du, who is in Kansas City, Missouri.
What a fucking name.
Yeah. Jackie Cox, and she is in New York City. Heidi Closet is from Ramseur, South Carolina. I know that name is pretty terrible. They even make a remark. One of the judges is like, that is a terrible drag name. You need a better drag name. Gigi Good is from Los Angeles. And Crystal Method, who is from Springfield, Missouri. So
Gigi Good, that's a stupid name as well. I mean, that's no thought.
She's cool, though. I like her.
Fine, but that doesn't mean the name can't be changed. Because for me, when I think of a drag queen, I think of an exotic name. Just like a multi-syllable name. And not like, Gigi Good. It's Gigi. Hey. No.
I don't know why she chose that name, but she seems pretty cool. What's cool about her is that her mom is a costume designer in Los Angeles and helps her make all of her outfits. And she knows how to sew as well. So if they usually during the season, they'll have a challenge where they have to make a drag outfit on a deadline, or they have to do something like make it out of, it's kind of like Project Runway meets Drag Race. So it's like 2 of my favorite things together.
Well, don't the cooking shows do that too? I mean, that's a common practice. Yeah,
and that's a common practice. They'll give them some random shit and say, hey, make this. And sometimes it's like actual fabrics, sometimes it's things from a dollar store, sometimes it's just some kind of unconventional material. Like one time they gave them a whole bunch of books and they had to make dresses out of books, either take the pages out or use the covers or any number of things. So
I'm chafing at the thought. I mean, just
well, basically what you do.
Cuts.
Yeah, I mean, you would make a base of muslin, just basic simple fabric that a lot of times they'll use for making patterns and stuff. So they'll just make a base and then cover it with like the paper or something like that. But yeah, it's interesting. So maybe they'll have a challenge like that later on. But this episode, the first episode, was getting to know the first 7 queens. And it was a pretty fun episode. And Nicki Minaj was the guest judge. It was so cool. It was so cool. And they actually did a Nicki Minaj song for the Lip Sync for Your Life. And so it was like Nicki Minaj watching 2 queens do Nicki Minaj. And it was one of my favorite Nicki Minaj songs too. So
all right.
Yeah, it was a good show. So I'm looking forward to meeting the next group of queens. Will probably be 6 or 7. I don't know how many they're gonna go for.
And they'll fight to the death. No,
no, that would be interesting though. But no, it'll be cool to see what they end up doing. One of these queens, I like Gigi Good. She's one of my early favorites, as is Jackie Cox. She's hilarious. She's really cool. She's also Persian. Her family is of Persian descent.
Okay.
But Crystal Method is just weird. She came out for her opening. What they do at the beginning of the season is they do these opening entrances where they come into the workroom and they do this whole like, ta-da, I'm here kind of thing. She came out dressed like a friggin' clown with like acid green hair. And it was just really strange. She just came out like, hi, and I'm just like, what the hell?
Okay.
But yeah, she came out as this weird clown, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see what she does.
All right.
Yeah, and it turns out she's like super cute out of drag, and all the other queens were like, hey. It's always fun when they de-drag for the first time and they see each other in their boy out in their like boy drag, what they call boy drag and drag. But and then some of them are all like making eyes at each other, and like it's funny. It's good drama. I like it. So I'm
Drag Race After Dark.
Yeah, basically. So I'm looking forward to another season. A brand new season. I'm excited. I'm always excited for more Drag Race.
Almost like that GIF I have saved of Barney Gumbo. You know, like, oh my god.
Pretty much, yeah. I got super excited because I hadn't been really paying attention to when the next season was coming out, and then I like learned like midweek last week. I was like, what? It's already on? It just happened? Oh my god! I checked my bank balance, and then I went to Amazon. I'm like, click, buy that season. All right.
Well, we have a birthday this week.
Whose birthday is it?
It is the 20th birthday of the PlayStation 2.
I have one of those somewhere around here in a box. Gathering dust. It's one of the original ones, so it's the big, bulky one.
Oh, man.
I have some games and controllers and all that, too, somewhere.
Yeah, I remember 20 years ago, I had the PlayStation 1 for a good 6 months. I bought it I bought it for the apartment I had. I bought it so I could play the original Grand Theft Auto game. Because the great thing about the original Grand Theft Auto game is that once the game was properly loaded and you're on the gaming screen, you could actually open up the disc tray and then pop in a music CD, and then the game would still play, but the music channels would be
whatever
the CD.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, but when the PlayStation 2 came out, just the promise of some of the games that they were talking about. I mean, the better graphics and the fact that it had a DVD. So the PlayStation 2 was officially my first DVD player as well.
Mine too.
Yeah. People don't realize. I mean, for me, I think my love for movies really blossomed once DVDs became readily available like that.
Yeah, once they became super available and super cheap too. I mean, they were cheap. They've been cheaper than VHS tapes. I mean, I'll see them at the store just randomly. Just go to the grocery store, and there's almost always like a bin of like $3 or $4 DVDs, and you're just like, okay.
Well, I mean, the fact that you can actually have tracks to where the director will talk about, what inspired certain scenes in movies. I mean, that kicks ass.
Yeah.
Being able to see deleted scenes, The trailer, all the, like, if it's a Robert Rodriguez DVD, you got the 10-minute film school where he teaches you little tricks. If you're a filmmaker, he has a 10-minute cooking school. He promised a 10-minute fucking school on one of his discs, but just so many things you can do there. But I think of a lot of the games. I mean, I remember, I think it was SmackDown 2, I think it was called Know Your Role, the WWE game, and just how it, at the, 20 years ago, that game seemed like, oh my god, this is the closest to real life I will ever see in a video game.
Gosh, I remember getting the PS2 and then getting like, fighting games, like Tekken. One of the Tekken games, I don't remember which number it was, but I had Tekken, I had Soul Blade. When I bought the PlayStation, it came as a bundle from Amazon, and what did it come? It came with like a hockey game and a couple others. I can't even remember. I do remember one of them I didn't really like, so I ended up like going to GameStop and trading it in for credit. But I really liked the NHL games that they had on the PS2.
It was probably one of the EA Sports games.
Oh yeah, it was an EA Sports game. I don't remember which number it was, but that was fun. Yeah. I enjoyed that.
And EA, I mean, in terms of quality, they've had some good years and bad years, but if you're a sports fan, you can't go wrong with buying one of those.
Yeah.
For me, there goes the hiccup. For me, the best games I encountered on there was the Grand Theft Auto series.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto is pretty good.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 3 was... people don't realize how much of a revelation that game was. I mean, just being able to have that open world, being able... In other games in the past, played with that concept before, but just being able to... you can go to your next level and continue on with the story, or you can grab a gun and just, go up to random people and start shooting, or you can speed through town and hit stuff and, try and make spectacular jumps. I remember one time at the top of, there's a hill in that game near the top, and there's a roadway down this alley that if you hit it at the right speed, what I was able to do one time was hit it, and then there's like this little incline that will shoot you up, but then I only was able to do this once. The car I was driving it flipped like 4 times backwards and then landed, but I forgot to save the game, so it did not count.
No.
Yeah. And then, of course, the Grand Theft Auto Vice City. That was the first time all of their characters were able to talk, and Ray Liotta was the voice of the main character, Tommy Vercetti. Got a little trouble with that game because that was right around the time where I first moved in with my ex-wife with my stepson, who I don't like the term stepson, but it explains it. But my son, I was playing Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and he came into the room, and I go, "You want to play?" And he's 2. He was going to say yes no matter what. So I had him on my lap. He had the controller, and he's shooting hookers. And then his mother walks in the room.
Oh, you're a terrible influence, Tim.
I know.
One of my favorite games for the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2, because it worked on both, was Parappa the Rapper.
Oh, God.
I really loved that game. That was a fun one. And another good one is Katamari Damacy. Did you ever play any of the Katamari games?
No.
They're kind of weird, but they're really cool. They'd be good games to play if you're stoned.
I mainly stuck with WWE, Grand Theft Auto, and the Madden series. The only time I really ventured out into different types of games was Metal Gear Solid.
Okay.
Started that. I mean, the first Metal Gear goes back way before the PlayStation, but Metal Gear Solid, I did play that for the PlayStation 1, and then that was Metal Gear Solid 3, I think it was, and then the PlayStation 2, the Metal Gear Solid 4, that's showed what video games could do in terms of having it was like twice the size of a movie. I mean, the cut scenes, like there was one cut scene I remember being an hour long.
Wow.
And it's that game is super intense even on easy mode, but just so many memories.
Yeah, Katamari Damacy had really catchy Japanese music. It's very Japanese.
That's probably why.
But basically, you were rolling a ball, and as you rolled the ball, because you were this little guy on the ground rolling this ball, and as you rolled the ball, it would pick up things and get bigger, and then the world would get bigger. So you'd start like really small with like paper clips and push pins, and then you're rolling up couches, and you're gradually going up until you're at the world level, and you're rolling up countries and planets. It was really, really visually interesting and original, and one of the coolest games I've ever played to this day. Yeah, kind of just talking about it makes me want to find the PlayStation and
hook
it up and play some Katamari Damacy. Oh my gosh, yeah. And the songs alone, I mean, I think you can probably listen to them on YouTube, but it's all like la 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 Katamari Damacy, and then it would switch from level to level, and the story was weird too, but it was just so innocent and so fun. It was, you could play that with your kid, and your ex-wife wouldn't have got mad if you'd played Katamari Damacy.
But it's not shooting hookers. That's fun.
So it's rolling things up and singing
cute
you little
do that
songs
with weed. I mean,
yeah, that's why I said it would have been a good game to play if you were stoned, because it was just so bizarre, and I could see people just getting like really entranced with it.
I know there's another level in Grand Theft Auto Vice City my ex-wife loved. When you buy the strip club, and that was the first game that introduced you buying businesses, but you had to earn the opportunity to do that. And with the strip club, you actually had to sit in for a personal dance session, and just, I believe you had to do it for 1 game hour in there, but you just had to watch like what is it? It's 32 megapixel. I forgot the graphic types, but it it looks
pixelated boobs basically.
Yeah, just that dancing around, and you got a 2-year-old in the house running around.
Oh god, that sounds like the original Duke Nukem, where you could go into the strip clubs in Duke Nukem, and they were like really pixelated.
Yeah,
because that was like early PC type stuff. And
yeah, I mean, even the last Grand Theft Auto game on the PlayStation 2, in my opinion, one of the best video games ever made, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, that was still pretty pixelated, even though the graphics are pretty. I would say they're on the low end of what would be acceptable today in terms of quality.
Yeah, I know you can play the Grand Theft Auto games on the PC now. I haven't.
And on a tablet.
And I know you play it on the tablet. I've played it. I did have it for the PS2, but I don't have the coordination to do the driving with a controller. I
found that once I started playing, I bought them first for the iPad, but now I have San Andreas for my Samsung tablet. I actually play the game better on a tablet than I did on the video game, because I know for San Andreas especially, I could not complete that game on the PlayStation, because there's a mission just before you get to Las Venturas, the game version of Las Vegas, to where you have to get your pilot's license, and you're flying around, and you had to use the DualShock controller, and you couldn't. That was another thing with the PlayStation 2. That was the first time that really had
this vibrating controller. It always freaked me out.
Well, not only the vibrating, but they had those little joysticks on there as well, and that was the first time you really learn how to incorporate those into your playing, because with the PlayStation 1, it was just traditional up, down, left, right type of buttons. So, I can never get the planes to work properly, but on the tablet, I ace it every time.
Yeah, it's odd, because I know that this is going off the topic a little bit, but with the Skyrim games and the Fallout games, I've watched people play it on a controller, on like a PlayStation or an Xbox,
right?
And I've tried it, but I can't play those games on a controller. It's just, I can't. I physically, my brain and my hands just are not connecting. But I'm excellent at them when I do it on my PC with a keyboard and a mouse.
It's like stick shift and automatic.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just, I've become so used to PC gaming that I can't really game very well on a PlayStation anymore, unless it's a fighting game. Fighting games, no problems. No problems with fighting games. So I guess, fighting games are Damacy, Katamari Damacy. That's where I'm at for consoles. Well, I can do the Wii stuff pretty well, but yeah.
I never bought anything but PlayStation. I'm not a Nintendo fan whatsoever. Never had an Xbox because, again, with the Xbox, it's like the difference between an iPhone and an Android device. Mm-hmm. They both pretty much do the same thing, and most of the same programs are available for both systems. Mm-hmm. It's just some of the Xbox exclusives never tempted me whatsoever.
Yeah, I just was never really tempted by buying any. I have a Wii. And that was the last console I bought.
My youngest son, one of his first jokes. What do you call two Nintendo Wiis?
Wii?
A Nintendo Wii.
Your son's a goofball.
Hi, Luke.
Oh, dear. All right, so I guess it's time.
It's time for
Album of the Week.
All right, for folks that listened to last week's episode, you saw that I was not prepared.
That's okay.
With my choice. So what I did was put a poll up on our Facebook page asking what album should we review this week. I had White Zombie's La Sexa Cristo, Devil's Music Volume 1. I had Black Sabbath Paranoid. I had... what was that other one? AC/DC, For Those About to Rock. We salute you, and I know you're glad that didn't win.
I'm so glad.
But the one that won, surprisingly, in a blowout, was from the Wu-Tang Clan. Enter the Wu-Tang.
I was a little surprised about that, too, but I guess a lot of people really like this album.
Yeah, I mean, for its place in hip-hop history, you could probably safely say it's the Sgt. Pepper of hip-hop in terms of its importance.
Okay. I don't think I would agree with that, but that's okay.
For what it did, it's a landmark album regardless. I mean, that's for it. It kind of helped shape what the modern hip hop sound is.
Okay, I would go with that.
So yeah, and my introduction to them was when I worked at a music store in Grand Rapids called Believe in Music, and I didn't listen to the album at the time. I just saw the cover and was like, fuck this, and and I completely ignored it, and I just didn't know what it was about, and I to this day people can tell me to oh my god, you'll love the show, and I'm like, no interest. Just not my thing. It could be the greatest thing in the world, but it has to somehow pique my curiosity for me to get interested. Mm-hmm. I joke around sometimes and tell people that I usually wait about 10 to 15 years before I get into something that's currently popular. I think of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It was about 10 years after that show went off the air that I've finally caught it and fell in love with that show. But introduced to who they were when I worked at the music store, and then there was a movie that came out from Jim Jarmusch called Ghost Dog: Way of the Samurai, starring Forrest Whitaker. But most importantly, the soundtrack was the first time that the RZA did a soundtrack for a movie, and the soundtrack was really, really good. And if you haven't heard it, definitely recommend going out of your way to find it. I don't know if it's currently published. I believe when I checked on Spotify, not all of the tracks were available, which unfortunately is common with some albums. Mm-hmm. But if you can get your hands on it, it's really good. And then, of course, Chappelle Show. I posted on our Facebook group page. They had a little Chappelle Show had a skit called Wu-Tang Financial. And how the Wu-Tang Clan would help people diversify your bonds, and all that other stuff. Okay. And it was great because they had two members of the Wu-Tang Clan in that skit, but then at the end of the skit they had a bunch of old white people going, Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. I mean, the first two seasons of Chappelle Show are absolute classics for a reason, and
Okay. You know, I never really got into the Chappelle Show, but I might have to
You've never... I mean, you've seen it?
I've seen, like, a clip here and there, but no, because there's a lot of stuff that came out all at one time when I just didn't have cable. I just didn't get into it.
The first 2 seasons of Chappelle Show are the two greatest seasons of a comedy sketch show in history.
Okay, I'll have to check it out then, because I do like comedy sketch shows. I've watched most comedy sketch shows, I would say. I've seen all of Kids in the Hall, Key and Peele, so I watch Saturday Night Live still. Those kinds of shows. The Big Gay Sketch Show.
You haven't seen Charlie Murphy's True Hollywood Stories on there?
I saw the Prince one with the pancakes.
That was part 2 of the first one was where he details his friendship with Rick James. And that's, I'm Rick James, bitch. That's where that comes from.
I don't know if I've seen that one, but I did see the one with Prince, because I love Prince, and anything that mentions Prince I will usually check out.
The Rick James one, I can watch that today and just have trouble breathing because I'm laughing so hard.
And you do spend a lot of time laughing at TV.
What do the 5 fingers say to the face? Slap!
Okay. All right. So we're getting a little off topic here.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to do is kind of dive in to this album because, one track I have and we'll go into it deeper, but there was a track on here that I listened to that I was surprised at just how much I connected with it. So I thought we'd go through it track by track and do what we usually do.
Can I say something first?
I wanted to give our disclaimer.
Okay, give the disclaimer, then I'll say something.
The normal disclaimer that we give here, this is just our opinion. So whether we say we like something or we don't, if you don't agree, that is perfectly fine. We are both right because, again, we're giving our opinion on what we think about this music. Regardless of what we say about it, we strongly encourage you. Obviously, they don't necessarily need the money, but they're artists. Support them. Go buy their music, or at the very least, listen to them on a streaming service.
And that is the beauty of music in general, is that there are lots of different ways to interpret it. It is all a form of art, and art is always open to interpretation.
Damn right.
Yep. So, before we start talking about the album, I just wanted to express that, I am a white woman, so my opinion comes from being a white woman, and I am a fan of hip-hop. It's just that I am somewhat selective in which hip-hop I like to listen to. Because I don't like to listen to stuff where it's just a bunch of screaming and yelling. I like it to have a bit of groove, a bit of funk. So that's one of the reasons why I like bands like De La Soul and Tribe Called Quest and the Beastie Boys. Stuff like that. That's the kind of hip-hop I like to listen to. That being said, at times I really enjoyed this album, at times I did not. So, we'll go into it more deeply as we get into a track, but I just wanted to let our listeners know where my perspective is coming from.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I make it no secret that I do prefer harder rock or metal. But if you talk to any musician of note, they're gonna be able to tell you their musical interests. I believe Snoop Dogg has come out and talked about like country artists that have whose music he's liked, and any artist, any musician is gonna be able to look at music as a whole. So and that's what I try to do too. Now, again, as a white guy, my perspective on stuff like the lyrics, I may not necessarily relate to, so it's not something I'm necessarily going to touch on, but different story for a different day. But let's go through it track by track. Track one, bring the motherfucking ruckus. What'd you think?
Bring the ruckus. I enjoyed it. I come from a school of listening to music that uses movie clips on a pretty regular basis, which is industrial music. They use a lot of movie clips, a lot of bits and pieces and samples and things like that. So some people would be like, oh, what is this old movie stuff? I like that sort of thing. I like it, little clips like that on occasion. I'm not such a fan of other stuff that they do on this album, but I like this track. This was a good one.
I dug it. To your point, I did love the throughout the album they have various clips from different old kung fu movies.
Yeah, it fits in with the theme.
Yeah. Loved that. I loved how the music was kind of low key, simple and effective. And it makes me think it would be perfect in an action movie where a group of mercenaries are getting together via montage. This is like perfect montage music. Mm-hmm. And I just could have done without the constant repeating of the song title. Bring the motherfucking ruckus. And they just say it over and over and over again. It's like, I get it. Calm down.
Yeah. I am with you when it comes to excessive repetition. It's like, in all those times you said that one lyric, you could have maybe come up with some others? Maybe?
Something like that. It just...
What rhymes with ruckus?
Muckus?
Buckus? Fuckus? Tuckus? Tuckus?
Well, I mean, and they, throughout the album and throughout hip-hop period, they don't necessarily have to use actual words.
Yeah, I know. Look at Snoop Dogg with the Rizzle Fizzle Dizzle, whatever it is.
Well,
he makes up his own... He has his own language.
No, he doesn't, actually. That's Carney. That is the language. Oh. That's Carney language that, like, wrestlers use that.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, like,
but he made it popular.
But yeah, that's Carney. Like I mentioned, pro wrestlers. If back in the '80s, they don't do it necessarily now, but like back in the '80s, in the old days, when they tried to pretend it was a legitimate sport, if someone that didn't know what was going on came in the backstage area, then they would talk with They would talk like Snoop Dogg talks to kind of hide, what they were saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a language lesson every day with you, Tim.
Yeah. And another wrestling reference. Look at that.
Oh, how many can we pack into one episode?
Let me count the ways.
Yeah.
All right, the next one. Shame on a... not going to repeat the title for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you think?
I'm always uncomfortable when the N-word is used. Always. Even when I know that the people who are using it and I know I know the history around it. I know why they're using it, but I still get really uncomfortable. I get uncomfortable reading it. I get uncomfortable hearing it. And that's a good thing because you're supposed to be uncomfortable, I would think.
Yeah, I mean...
I just feel like it's such a powerful word. You don't want to just toss it around.
Because you want to respect other people's opinions. I mean, at the end of the day, it is just a word.
It is, but it's got so much history.
Yeah, and so much evil connotation over the past 400 plus years, if not longer, with the use of that word. So for me, if a middle-aged white guy to just casually throw it out there, even if it's just naming off a song title, I don't feel it's personally appropriate to do that, just simply because there are people out there that have to deal with being called that, and they don't need me to be flippant about it. But yeah, overall, apart from that, what were your thoughts on the song?
I don't know. It was okay. I didn't really make any notes on it, which generally means I didn't have much of an opinion.
Okay. For me, I loved the sample that opened up the song. It's kind of a shaking groove type of deal. Old Dirty Bastard with his voice. It just has this weird way of kind of sing talking, and with how his voice sounds, he's got a naturally groovy type of voice. The track definitely has you bouncing your head. I did love the bass as well, because it wasn't like boom boom boom. It was just kind of like a low hum, but it would adjust through the song, and it was just still kind of kind of like a wave on the ocean. So if you're in a boat, it's kind of like a wave like that. So
you can't see this, folks, but he is bouncing up and down.
Yeah, that's right. Things I do for you people. But I also like the horn samples at the end. But next track, Clan into Front.
Okay, so this one and the next one, they start out with a lot of like yelling and smack talking between the members. And I mean, I know that male posturing is a big part of hip hop, but I just get really tired of it really quick. And if there was an edition of this album that didn't have any of the yelling and the male posturing that persists through quite a few tracks on this album, I would be a much happier person. If it was just the music, I can handle a lot of the posturing when it's put to a beat, but when it's just basically yelling, it makes me feel uncomfortable.
Well,
like someone's about to like reach out from the speaker and smack me or something. And yeah,
I get it with the posturing. I mean, in a lot of ways, this type of a hip hop is very much comparable to heavy metal, in terms of that type of alpha male posturing, or even alpha female if it's a female singer. I get that, and how it at times it can not be the most comfortable. I dug this. The notes I had is that this would be in the movie. This would be used in a movie where a hero's been beaten down, yet they just channeled their inner strength to get back into the fight. The bass was simple yet effective. It was setting the mood of the song. The vocals I thought were a little muddled near the start, with too many singing at once. I did not care for the constant repeating of woo, woo, woo in the background. And I'm a Ric Flair fan. So.
Yeah, that was kind of obnoxious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. I just get really tired of the male posturing.
All right, next track then. Wu-Tang, Seventh Chamber.
And, like the previous track, I dig the song, and I dig the groove, and everything. I just can't deal with the smack talk so much. And it's not, and I know that they're like talking to each other, but at the same time I'm just like, would you kiss your mother with that mouth kind of thing? And cussing doesn't offend me either, but I'm just like, come on, you just stop.
Can't you say frick?
No, not even. It's just too much. I mean, I don't even know why they added it to the album, just to prove that they're men.
Well, I wrote that I did think it was one of the weakest songs on the album. I did compare this to a wrestling promo, in the sense that, they are presenting themselves as characters and, just trying to, tell the audience that they're, vicious warriors and all that stuff. I love that in the skit that opened it, that they name dropped the John Woo film, The Killer. I love the piano sample, but again, overall, just... it didn't do it for me. I was, if anything, wasn't that it was necessarily bad. I guess it just, I was lost, because a lot of these skits and hip hop albums are, sometimes I can't relate to them. And again, I believe that's just environment more than anything. I mean, if you grow up in the Midwest in Grand Rapids with a bunch of white people, you're not necessarily going to be able to relate to somebody talking about like Uncle Dolomite or something like that.
Yeah, and I recognize that a lot of it is that I don't relate, because I grew up in the suburbs of Portland, in a very white community, and
not just white, it's white.
yeah, pretty white. So I mean, I know that I can't identify with the background that these folks have, but I've lived enough now at this point in my life, and I've done research. I read, I listen, that sort of thing, that I feel like I can at least understand some of the background. But at the same time, I know that I have some privilege in the fact that I'm white from suburbs, white and nerdy.
Yeah, I mean, like, me when I talk about, like women's issues that, I talk about, and I can certainly empathize as much as I can, but I don't have to go with, through, like having to pay tax on,
sanitary products
or something like that. I don't have to experience that, and just some things, you're not going to be able to live through, so you're not necessarily going to be able to get that full understanding. You can be empathetic, you can, most importantly, listen, but sometimes you're just not going to be able to get that perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And I try very hard to be empathetic and respectful in that regard. So yeah, that being said, let's go on to the next track.
All right. It's the next track. Can It Be All So Simple? Intermission. What'd you think?
I don't like pseudo ballads. It's all slow. And first you think, oh, it's a ballad. No, it's not a ballad. It's a bunch of shit talking. And it's a bunch of crap about gunning each other down. And it's just more male posturing. And I just did not like this track at all.
I thought it was pretty weak. I didn't care for it. I did love the Gladys Knight sample.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with, like, Gladys Knight. But at the same time... It's just frustrating to listen to. It just was...
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of slower paced than it needed to be. Now, one thing I do like about, what I've heard from the Wu-Tang Clan and what I've heard from the soundtrack that I mentioned, Ghost Dog Way the Samurai from the RZA, and also some of his other film work, is that he is not afraid to go the slower route with his hip-hop. It's not all the same type of consistent, it's not like the AC/DC of hip-hop, you know. They will have some differences. This is just a little too slow for my taste, and yeah, I don't have as much of a problem with the posturing. I guess again because of being a pro wrestling fan, I think I get why they're doing that.
You're a little more used to hearing it, and I'm just to my ears, where I've kind of, because I used to hear a lot more male posturing in general when I used to play World of Warcraft, because most of the people I played with were men. It was not the Me Too era at that point. And so I would hear a lot of like that male posturing, smack talk stuff, literally in my ears, in my headphones, in voice chat and stuff. And, I took a break from that game, and I'm playing the game I'm playing now in that sort of same format. The guild that I'm with is a LGBT guild. That's the one that I talk to the most. I don't hear any of that anymore. So to actually hear male posturing, because it's like I don't get it in the workplace, and the only time I hear it is like when I listen to stuff like this.
Yeah,
and
it can, yeah,
and it's jarring, and just it makes me very uncomfortable.
I get that. I mean, for the posturing deal, and I guess too with the type of humor that I like, a lot of my humor is sort of that pseudo posturing, as well. So I don't. When I hear them, I'm not necessarily thinking they believe 100% that they're going to go out with samurai swords and cut down their competition. I just think it's more of, yeah, I'm a big tough guy type of deal.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. When I hear people talk like this, I'm just like, the rape jokes are not far off, and yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't deal with those anymore. I've just refused to listen to that shit.
Shouldn't have to. Nobody, Yeah. All right. The next track. I'll pronounce it correctly. The Mystery of Chess Boxing.
All right. So I like this one.
All right.
There was no crap talking, and it was just groovy right off from the start. And so it's one of those songs where if you're sitting in a chair listening to music and your butt starts to twitch because it's so good, so you're basically dancing in your chair. That's what it was. It was a butt twitching song.
Butt twitching song. Do you give it one cheek or two?
I give it 2 cheeks.
All right.
And when the song's over and your butt kind of hurts a little bit, it was a good workout. It was a good song.
Wu-Tang worked that ass.
Wu-Tang worked that ass.
Okay. For me, I put on. I dug the piano samples. The song has a real serious groove that does get your head bouncing
and your butt twitching.
Yeah. Compared to a previous song, I actually like the fact that this song had the constant repeating of do, die, do, die.
Well, if you're doing it in the right way,
yeah,
repetition is okay, but you gotta get it mixed right into the groove.
Yeah, I mean, it worked here, and most importantly, Old Dirty Bastard was the star of the song once again, just with his voice, with his delivery, just how he's able to get it.
He's pretty funny.
I'm like the drag version of ODB. Fabulous. No.
Anyway. All right.
Apart from that image, let's go on to the next song. The next song, Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing to Fuck With.
This is the classic. I think this is the only song that I'd ever heard of theirs before I listened to this album. Just because, Sheltered white lady here. well, not that sheltered, but
Tiger
you know what
style.
I mean. Yeah, I like this one too. This was good.
Yeah, I mean this. This was their Back in Black. In terms of that one song that everybody knows.
Everybody knows, yeah.
It's a classic as well. To me, this is a song like the Public Enemy had a song called "Welcome to the Terror Dome" that Mike Tyson used to use before he went to the ring.
I love Public Enemy too.
Yeah, but "Welcome to the Terror Dome" is that you see somebody walking down an aisle into a ring with that song playing, you're going to get your ass beat. And I think this song, you have somebody like if Conor McGregor or somebody came out with this song going into the octagon playing, the other person's going to be a little scared because this is an intense hype song. I loved it. All right, the next song. Cash rules everything around me.
AKA Cream.
Get the money. Dollar bill, y'all.
Oh, God. I like this song before I heard you do that. And it also explains a lot of, like, rap-related or just, like, hip-hop related stuff to me because I would see this acronym and I'd just be like, what are they talking about? Yeah, because.
Yeah.
Didn't know. Hadn't heard this song. Now I understand why people say that. It was a light bulb moment.
It's like when white people find out what skeet means.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
You've heard the term skeet?
Yeah, I've heard that. I figured it was like a masturbation thing.
No, it's the phonetic sound that people think happens when a guy ejaculates.
Okay.
So skeet.
I figured it was something related to a penis because it always comes back to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, I dug the R&B sample that they used to open the song. Much more low-key compared to the rest of the album, but unlike the song from a couple tracks back, the slowness of the song really works for this. Lyrically, I would say it's probably one of the best songs on the album as well, because if you think about the lyrics, it's not like one of those stereotypical, I have the biggest house, I have the best car type of deal. It's detailing how, easy it is for a poor person to see a criminal situation arise and think, maybe I need to take advantage of this in order to, get some quick money. Because, I think this is one thing a lot of people in this country can relate to, regardless of your skin color. Being poor kind of sucks.
Yeah, it does. It sucks.
Yeah. So it's the lyrics definitely good. This is the second track. After Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing to Fuck With. If you're gonna listen to anything, listen to this and that other one most of all. But the next track, Method Man. What did you think?
Okay, so the beginning of the song starts out with some really violent shit talking that was just, the first time I listened to it, literally my mouth dropped open. I was just like, did he just do what?
With a hanger?
With a hanger? And then it goes on to stabbing in the tongue and then sewing someone's butt shut and then like feeding them. And I'm just listening to this going, what the hell does this have to do with anything hip-hop related? Well, they're just talking about violent ways to, like, fuck with each other.
You forgot about where on a 12-story building, he would hold a guy dangling off the roof by his dick.
Yeah, and I'm just like, seriously? What the hell? And then the song starts, and I'm like, the song was pretty good. I can't... That's why I want a chat-free version of this album. Can someone make that for me?
Or a part where it's just somebody going la 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 until the song starts.
No, not just cut it out. Just snip it.
All right. For me, I said the skit was unique. Once the song starts, it does have a hell of a groove.
Yeah.
Bouncing your head almost immediately.
Although the fact that he mentioned smoking meth really bothered me. I was just like...
Well, it's Method Man singing it, so he could be talking about... It could be a sexual thing, too.
I suppose, but generally smoking meth means smoking meth, and I don't like it when people glorify anything meth-related.
Well, was there even meth in 92, 93? Okay.
Meth has been a problem in this country for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it was that necessarily. I could be wrong, so if somebody knows different, feel free to correct me. But I did think that the song ended up dragging around the middle, and I would say it's probably one of the forgettable ones.
I thought it was pretty solid all the way through. The groove was really solid. It was another butt-twitching song. For me, at least.
All right.
But, yeah, that violent crap at the beginning, I was just like, what the hell? I didn't understand why. I just don't understand the point. What is the point of that? Or what they could do is make a version of this album with all of the chat parts as separate tracks so that you can easily just go, skip. All right, now here's the good part. The music.
Generally, the skits in hip-hop, I mean, I know in Dr. Dre, The Chronic, I believe the skits are their own individual tracks, so...
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right, the next track. You want to pronounce it correctly. It's not Protect Your Neck. It's Protect Your Neck.
Protect Your Neck.
Wu-Tang! What'd you think?
This one was fine.
Okay.
I didn't make any notes about whether I hated it or loved it, but obviously it was okay.
For me, I like the Spider-Man name drop. The bass was simple again, but it shows to me that, simple 99% of the time is probably going to get the job done just fine.
Was this the song they mentioned Lucky Charms in?
They mentioned Lucky Charms a couple of times. I believe it was in this one, yeah.
When I heard that, like, wait a second, it's a Lucky Charms commercial. Red hearts, orange stars,
green clovers, and blue diamonds, or whatever they got. I love the piano samples. They even name drop the Skrulls. I mean, they're based in New York, so Marvel comics and whatnot. So it's great to have two Marvel name drops there. It did tend to drag for me, so I would put it more on a mediocre side. I wouldn't say it's the worst song on the album, but I'm not gonna say it's the best. But
yeah.
Right, the next song, Tears.
No, I didn't like this song at all. I thought it was awful.
Why is that?
It's just, ugh. Besides the fact that they spelled tears with a Z, I can't deal with that kind of shit. Seriously, I hate it when people
even Prince.
Yes, that was one thing I did not like about Prince. I was just like, no, it's not okay to do that. No, just write the words out. No. But yeah, Tears. I'm just like, okay, Tears with a Z. So obviously it's gonna be special. I don't know. I just was like, I don't know. I think at this point I was just like getting frustrated with the album and as a whole. I'm like, okay, can you just give me just the music and skip all the chatty parts?
Okay. For me, I dug the keyboard sample that they used. And it sounds like it came from like a 70s R&B song, but I wasn't able to find, what that specific clip was. The lyrics are pretty good because they do detail, essentially it's talking about needless death. I mean, they talk about a guy who had unprotected sex and ended up with HIV at one point. They talk about a guy who was mugged but didn't give his wallet to the mugger and got shot. Stuff like that. And just about... how sometimes people end up dying for just the dumbest of reasons. I mean, if you're mugged, give them your money. It's like when I worked at a gas station in 2000, I got robbed 3 times. And each and every time, when the person made it clear that they were robbing me, I gave that person whatever they wanted because, I was not going to take a bullet for a place that would have easily fired me if I had like $5 too much in that drawer when it was robbed. Mm-hmm. So, the song, however, was a little long for my taste. So
I think that's what it was that I didn't. I think it was just like, I can understand like they wanted to get that stuff out. But it was just, it got really long and just, I'm listening, I'm like, okay. And I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop in a way. But I think I was still just kind of recovering from Method Man at that point. Just like, still just like, what the hell? Are they going to talk like that again? Because I just didn't want to listen to it. So, yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry, Wu-Tang. All right, the last track on the album. Now on Spotify, they do have an extended version, so they'll have 3 more tracks, and I believe those tracks were from singles.
Yeah, they're just like remixes of other songs.
But this track, Wu-Tang, 7th Chamber Part 2, Conclusion. What'd you think?
I don't have anything written down, and honestly, there's nothing in my head about this, so carry on.
Well, I dug the fuzzy synth that they used in the song, but the song, I believe, was over 6 minutes long, and it didn't need to be 6 minutes long.
Yeah, I was suffering from fatigue at this point, I think, and just like, it's all a blur at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there were some things sonically that were good, but the bad in this case does outweigh the good many times. So by the end of it, it was just like, thank goodness it's over. But overall, I gotta say, you know, our job here, we're gonna be honest about our opinion. So despite the fact that I didn't praise every single track on here, I love the album.
Yeah, I would probably listen to it again, but
just specific tracks.
And, you know, I suppose I could take the time to get some kind of sound editing software and make my own chat-free version. But I don't know if I care enough to do that.
Yeah.
Well, when there's a lot of other hip-hop that I could listen to that I would enjoy more. Like De La Soul is an example. They don't cuss and swear and talk about their dicks and stuff. And it's still really good.
Oh, I remember a few years back, they actually gave away to anybody that wanted it all of their studio albums up to the point of the giveaway, and I was able to get them all and download them all, so that was cool for De La Soul.
Yeah, De La Soul. I like De La Soul a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, that is my album. Do you have your choice in hand, or are you gonna?
I don't have it in my hands, but I
it
have it in my head.
Figuratively, not literally.
Yes, I know what my next choice will be.
What is it?
It is going to be the album Doolittle by the Pixies.
Oh, God. Yeah.
What? There's nothing wrong with the Pixies. The Pixies are great. I think you'll like it.
Is it like will I be able to get an impression out of it?
Maybe. I don't know. Oh, God. Never gonna hear the end of it with you, am I? Ever. Oh, my God.
It's so funny. Yeah, we were talking about, and I think we have to do this, about making a fake K-Tel commercial.
Oh, God.
It's the best of Perry Farrell. What
Tony Braxton.
And Tony Braxton. Babe, I got you, babe.
I don't think I could do. I couldn't do Tony Braxton's voice justice, for one.
Do you think I'm doing Perry Farrell's voice justice?
Well, no, but Perry Farrell has a fucked up voice, so it doesn't really make a difference. Whereas Tony Braxton has a gorgeous singing voice. I mean, her songs aren't like my thing really, but I can appreciate that she has a good voice. So.
Yeah, just when she sings, it's kind of like Sarah McLachlan. On Pluto TV, there's an app, Pluto TV, that you can download, and they have a lot of free stuff on there that you can watch. They have a Tosh.0 channel.
Yeah.
And he had a little test to prove that, you put Sarah McLachlan's music onto videos of animals doing silly stuff, it would still be sad.
Oh, like that ASPCA commercial that
So he played one of her really sad songs, but he had clips of like monkeys peeing in their mouths and dogs pooping and stuff.
And it was probably that Angel song, wasn't it?
I don't know the specific.
Of the angels.
It's not Juice Newton.
No.
Okay.
That's Sarah McLachlan.
No, it sounded like you're not singing that. Just don't call me angel.
No,
that's different. Bangel. Anyway.
Bangel? What's a bangel? Is that an angel who bangs people?
Sure.
Okay.
That's a sexy
angel. It's a bangel. All right. So
This Easter on Pornhub.
We're in the season of Lent right now, so yeah, no angels that bang you during Lent. You have to give those up. All right, so next week will be the Pixies. Album is Doolittle.
Okay.
One of my favorites. It's a good one.
Is it as good as Guy in a Buffalo?
What?
No, Professor Aubrey, she'd never heard The Guy in a Buffalo. There were viral videos back in 2012. This band in Texas called Jomo and the Possum Posse.
Oh, was that the one with the...
Yeah, one day the guy on a buffalo was riding through the forest and he saw a bear.
Yeah, it's better than that. I think it's better than that.
Oh, Guy in a Buffalo's classic. Their new album, though, they actually do have a new album that I'm going to bring up and review at some point. I'm going to get the name of it, but I really, really dug it. It was from, again, Jomo and the Possum Posse. They had a couple good songs, like the opening song is called Styrofoam. And the lyric is, my love is like styrofoam, baby. It will never decompose.
Well, yeah, you don't want your love to decompose.
Yeah, that's the point. Mm-hmm. And another good track, Annie's a Chicken Now.
Okay.
Love that one. But the album, Take a Number, Satan.
Okay.
So.
Is Annie a chicken lady? Did you ever see that sketch?
No.
The Kids in the Hall. I'm a chicken lady.
I never watched Kids in the Hall.
I'm a chicken lady. Oh, Kids in the Hall is great. All right, yeah, I think we need to stop.
Okay. Yeah, so we will see you all again next week. We're inching closer and closer and closer to episode 100.
Inching 1 inch at a time. 1 insane inch at a time. Because we're insane in the membrane.
Just because I have my wonderful Perry Farrell impression, I'm insane.
Wonderful is not the word I would use.
Wonderful.
No.
It's so wonderful.
No, Tim.
Here's a song from my next album.
No. God, no. No.
Here's from my opera. I sing opera now. Okay.
Save me.
All right. Mr. Rogers, save her.
It's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling. You're growing inside, and when you wake up ready to say, I think I'll make a snappy new day. It's such a good feeling, a very good feeling. The feeling you know that I'll be back when the day is new, and I'll have more ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. I will too. You always make each day such a special day. You know how? By just your being you. Only one person in the whole world like you. That's you yourself. I'll be back next time. Bye-bye.
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy on iTunes, the Google Play Music Store, as well as Spotify. Remember to support Friends Talking Nerdy on Patreon. Goodbye, darling.